Welcome to Straight Talk from Mayank Chaudhary. For the patrons of Learningspace Digital, Mayank needs no introduction because he has been associated with us for the past 1 year. But for those who are watching our videos for the first time, Mayank is someone who has secured All India rank 482 in the UPSC Civil Services examination of 2018. There have been several requests from our viewers asking us to make Mayank speak of his experiences and then advise them on how to prepare and how to strategize for the UPSC Civil Services examination. In a no holds barred interview, Mayank is going to reveal all that he has done correctly so that he could crack the examination. Let me first introduce him to you. He is Mayank, and then let me congratulate him on behalf of the rest of the Learningspace digital team because he has been part of our team as well.
Thank you,
Now,
sir.
Mayank, congratulations again. Let me start with the first question, a very valid question.
Yes, sir.
Is it really mandatory for an aspirant for UPSC Civil Services examination to join a classroom training and the test series?
So now it is not required because you can get so many sources on the online medium and you can start your preparation in a very systematic way when you follow these online sources. Like sir, when I started my preparation in 2015 after resigning my job, that time I found some of the online sources
Okay.
which I can rely. I never attended any coaching classes. Later on, to evaluate my performance, I just only joined some test series. But overall, my preparation was based on the online sources. And fortunately, sir, in 2015, I came in contact with Learningspace, and that time it was in the YouTube channel, sir.
Okay.
So the beautiful maps with the world and the geography. So my geography was my weak portion.
Okay.
So the maps and the way the sir used to tell the maps, this actually helped me in clearing the prelims. And not only this, to have a broad understanding of the various places, so that I was able to internalize all these places with the maps, and this was reflected in my mains answer writing.
Okay.
So it was the best platform I found, sir, during my preparation.
Okay, that's great. Actually, I would like to remind the viewers that Mayank is one of the 8 rankers who have contacted us voluntarily. Let me remind you that Learningspace Digital doesn't actively solicit testimonials from people who have cracked the UPSC Civil Services examination. But still, apart from Mayank, 7 other students have contacted us, and they are Vishal Sa, who scored All India rank 63, Akshay Kabra, All India rank 207, Chitra, All India rank 296, and Saurabh Mishra, All India rank 357, Kadam Niketan Bansilal, he scored All India rank 501, Sindhu Kavi MR, she scored All India rank 504, and Dr. Kiranmayi Kuppisetti, All India rank 573. We wish to congratulate all of you and also wish you all the best for your future endeavors. Now, coming back to the tips for the students, Mayank. You have mentioned that technology is available nowadays so that you can make use of it and really don't need to join a physical classroom training.
Yes, sir.
But what smart technology or tools can the aspirant use for preparing for UPSC Civil Services?
Yes, for this I would like to say my thanks to 2013 topper Gaurav Agrawal. From his blog, I came to know that I can use the OneNote and the Evernote for my notes making.
Okay.
Because sir, I am little bit lazy in making the notes on the physical copy and all, and to carry also these notes is not an easy task.
Okay.
So OneNote was my backbone of my making all my notes. So I categorized all the subjects like GS1, GS2. Individually, I divided all my syllabus in history, geography, polity. So whenever I come across any current affair, then I used to take some small portion of it. I used to write the notes in my own words. So it was helping me in my mains answer writing also.
Okay.
So in this way, sir, I make the notes systematically, and whenever I found any information, any beautiful map, any beautiful diagram, I used to paste there. Apart from the OneNote, sir, it was one more application, that is Feedly.
Okay.
Feedly, sir, is the app which I again came to know from the Gaurav Agrawal, sir.
Okay.
In this app, sir, you can subscribe the Hindu, Raj Sabha TV, Lok Sabha TV, and instead of going to the website, you can directly get the notification in this app.
Oh, great.
So it was very easy for you while you are traveling anywhere. You can just go through all these websites. And in this regard, one more application, sir, I used, that is
Okay.
Pocket.
pocket.
So,
Okay.
for example, in Feedly, I get any notification.
Right.
Let's suppose a Rajya Sabha channel, any video on Naxalite.
Right.
Then, but that time I was not having the time.
Okay.
Due to the paucity of time, I can directly link this site to my pocket.
Oh.
And in the pocket, sir, I have categorized all the section like geography, security, defense in this way.
Okay.
So it was very easy for me. When I came to my home, I just opened the pocket. I saw the video. If anything is there which I can note it down, I directly note in my OneNote.
Okay.
So everything, sir, was interconnected.
Right.
So OneNote, Feedly, and Pocket.
Okay.
So in this way, sir, my notes making was very smartly, and which ultimately helped me to carry my notes everywhere when I used to go.
Okay, so you mean to say that note taking plays a very vital role in the preparation for UPSC?
Yes, sir, I would say, because nowadays, sir, so there are so many sources, and you cannot rely on one physical source. You have to be dynamic in your attitude, and you have to go through the various current affairs. It is not only the Hindu.
Okay.
So you have to follow the Indian Express. Some articles are there in Indian Express.
Right.
Some are good in Rajya Sabha TV. Some are good in Live Mint. So you have to be dynamic, and you have to see which source you can use in your preparation in the prelims, mains, or interview.
Okay, usually everyone covers the Hindu, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
am I right? But most of the aspirants, or even most of the coaching institutions,
Yes, sir.
they are after the Hindu editorials mostly.
Yes, sir.
So, as you said, other newspapers have some good editorials, and you need to look at them as well.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And one of the rankers mentioned that particular aspect about Learningspace Digital.
Yes,
when we are doing editorial discussions,
Yes,
sir looks at every newspaper that you can think of,
Yes,
and then pulls up every single news item that is of interest to UPSC Civil Services preparation.
Yes,
Do you agree with that view?
100% absolutely agree, sir. Because
Okay.
in 2016, so when I gave my attempt, I reached to the interview,
Right.
but I didn't qualify. I was short of 20 marks. Then in 2017, sir, if I remember, then the Learningspace came with a full-fledged course of the UPSC with the search editorial, especially the Hindu editorial and all.
Right.
So when I followed the Learningspace, especially the editorial and the current affairs section of GVR, sir, this ultimately, sir, reduces my burden. Instead of going to various websites like Hindu, Indian Express, Live Mint, now I was totally relying on search lecture.
Okay.
And the best thing in the search lecture, what I found, sir, he used to cover the topic in a very, very simple way. Even if a person who has a very simple language of English also, he was able to understand what is sir is going to convey.
Right.
And this simple understanding actually helps you in writing the answer as well as in facing the interview.
Okay. Right.
And one more thing I would like to say, what I got benefit from sir, the way he used to teach, that way I applied in my optional subjects.
Okay.
Means making the thing very simple, making the things very clear, very crystal.
Okay.
And using the diagrams, use the diagrams in the PPT, sir. So those diagrams I used to in my answer writing.
Okay.
So this was the best part I have learned from the sir.
Okay. So for the aspirants,
Yes, sir.
so what strategy would you advise for prelims examination, to be precise?
So prelims is a elimination stage. If you clear, then you are going to attempt for the mains and the interview. If you are out, then whole year is wasted. So for the prelims, sir, I would like to say, go with the proper strategy in the sense there are 100 questions.
Right.
20 questions are easy, which each and everyone can solve. 20 questions are out of the box. These are the bouncer questions. Hardly few students know about these questions or may not be. 60 questions are the area where you have to score well with the common sense and the logical reasoning.
Right.
So play these 60 questions very smartly. Only attempt the question which you know. Don't minimize your negative markings. Then only you have to clear the cutoff. In the prelims, the main motive should be clearing the cutoff.
Okay.
Because if you see, sir, many toppers, if you see the 2016 topper, even 2017 topper, they hardly just cross the cutoff. When you cross the cutoff, then you are the stage of mains and the interview.
Okay.
So I would like to say play smartly in the prelims.
Okay.
Use the knowledge, use the common sense, use the wide understanding, and try to minimize the negatives.
Try to minimize the negatives.
Yes,
That's what it is, right? Okay, right. But you said, use the knowledge. But how to acquire that knowledge actually?
So nowadays preparation has become little easy, sir, because of the digital platform. Even when I started my preparation, that time this was the biggest question which haunted me, that how to cover all this syllabus, so
Right.
ocean type of syllabus.
Okay.
The best thing, sir, for the current affair, in 2017, sir, when I full-fledged followed the Learningspace, I totally followed the search lecture. So in this regard, I would like to say my current affair portion, I was feeling very confident. If any question come from the current affair, I will be in a position to handle it. Now if we come to the static portion, sir, then you have the history, geography, polity. There are standard books and each and every topper use these books. Like Spectrum in the history, Lakshmikant in polity, geography Majid Hussain or NCRT. These are the standard book everyone read. Now the thing is we have to relate the static with the dynamic. Means if any news in the current affair about the cyclone, for example, now we have the cyclone Phony, sir. So you have to understand the background of cyclone, how the cyclone arises. For this you need the static information. And in the mains answer writing, if you start the answer writing from the background till the current events, then the examiner will have the feeling that this student have a comprehensive understanding of the topic, and he will get good marks.
So what is needed is a comprehensive understanding of the topic.
And the connection with the static and the dynamic.
Okay, right. As other rankers have mentioned, actually, so the crystal clear quality in conveying the content, that's one thing, and putting it in very simple words so that everyone can understand it clearly. And then using the pictures, whether as you have mentioned, and apart from that, covering wide variety of sources. These are the things Learningspace has provided them, and then which ultimately help them in cracking the examinations. So is that what you think too?
Yes, sir. I would like to say, in my last preparation, so like in 2016, 17 and 18, for especially the current affair, I followed mostly on the two channels. One is the Learningspace Digital and second is the Raj Sabha.
Right.
Raj Sabha, sir, why I am saying? Because if you see the discussion like the big picture, Desh Deshantar, in-depth analysis, you have a different dimension. And when you see the search lecture, then you can combine these two information in your own way, and you can use the information in a multiple ways. So the Learningspace and the Raj Sabha was my base of my current affairs. And apart from this, the static subject everybody knows, sir. Nowadays we know so many things are there. And for my optional, sir, I just followed the tips being given by the 2009 topper. He has written in his blog about how to go with the psychology. My optional was psychology.
Psychology, okay.
Yes, right. So from 2009 topper, I came to know how to start psychology. And in this way, sir, I proceeded.
Okay, coming to the mains, what strategy would you recommend for the mains examination?
So mains, again, sir, I would like to say, mains is a very simple in the sense, if you know the question, and the question what I mean to say, for example, if you see the GS2 polity section, everybody know if the question is from the CBI or the CVC or the judiciary, you have to mention the name of commission or the committee in the answer. For example, prison reform, then you have to mention the Mullah committee.
Right.
If you're talking about the police reform, then you have to mention about the Venkatachalaya committee.
Right.
So in the sense, you have to mention these committee and the commission. This will enhances the credibility of your answer. Okay. Now, sir, some statistics also important, like how many sexual cases are there, how many prisons cases are there. So for this, the authentic sources, like we have the NCRB, National Crime Record Bureau. Just remember these few statistics and write these statistics in the approximately. Nobody knows exactly.
Right.
In the main, sir, you have to write 20 questions. So you don't remember all these facts as such. In the approximately you can write, you can mention the committee, commissions, and end the answer with the positive note. Like if you're talking about the prison reform, then you can talk about the e-prison, you can talk about the draft manual being produced by the government. In this way, if you bring some changes, then we can bring the humanity in the prison system. Right. So end with the positive note, because ultimately you are going to become an administrator, and the country needs an optimistic administrator. Okay. So start with some background information. In between, use flowcharts. Flowchart is very necessary. Because if you know the information and you can present the information in flowchart, there are two benefits. First benefit which I found, it reduces the time, because if you write the long paragraph, then it consumes the time. Instead of make the flowchart, and the flowchart should be self-explanatory in the sense. So it will give the good look to the answer. First thing. Second thing, you have not to cross a 200 word limit also. Right. That will be also maintained if you make any diagram of the flowchart. Okay. So these two things can be catered. Right. And this is the same mistake I done in 2016 actually. I felt this time when I wrote in 2018, sir. In 2016, I was writing the answer in the paragraph. So ultimately what happened, I was fell short of the time, and in most of the paper I was not able to complete my whole exam.
Okay.
Almost 2 question, 3 question I was not able to complete. So this time, sir, when I went into the center, I decided I have to complete the full paper. This is very important, sir.
Okay.
We have to complete the whole paper. This should be the mindset. And make the flow chart wherever necessary, practice. And in the flow chart also, what we can do, sir, while revising the things, while we are making the notes. For example, when I was making the notes in my OneNote,
Okay.
then I used to make the mental flow charts. Okay, this is the prison reform, this is the woman, I can use this type of diagram. So try to make in this way. And if there's any question on the comparison, I mostly use the tabular format. Like this time they asked the question about the Niti Aayog and the Planning Commission. So instead of writing the paragraphs, I use a tabular chart.
Right.
Like Niti Aayog, Planning Commission, these are the subheadings.
Right.
In this way you can write it.
Different columns.
Different columns.
Okay.
It gives the good look to the examiner.
Right.
And it helps you in fetching the good marks.
Okay, so Mayank is basically advising you to incorporate that thing into your preparation as well, if
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
wrong, right?
Exactly,
So
sir.
when you were using OneNote, so you were mentally preparing a
The
note
diagram,
of it,
sir.
right? Okay, the diagram.
So in this way, I would like to thanks GVR sir. When I used to see the PPT of GVR sir,
Okay.
he makes the thing so simple with the flow charts, with the pointers. Your mind also start processing in the same way,
Right.
and this helps me in my mains answer writing. Exactly,
Okay.
sir.
That's good to hear.
Thank you, sir.
And how to strike a balance between the GS papers and the optional?
So for this, what I did, I can tell you, sir.
Yeah, definitely.
Sir, I used to make the timetable. Sir, for I have the habit of getting up in the morning by 5. So morning, sir, I think my mind is so fresh. So in the morning time, for the 3 hours, I used to keep my optional. 5 to 8 or 5 to 9, this was the time for my optional. After that, the whole day I used to divide the time. For example, I divide the time in the sense, after watching the search lecture, then I divide the time GS paper 1, 2 hours, GS paper 2, 3 hours, 2 hours. The next day, then GS paper 3, GS paper 4. So
Right.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
Okay.
GS 1, GS 3, and sir, Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, GS3 and GS4.
GS4.
So in this way, sir, my all the subjects were in a process. And in this way, sir, what I feel, if you are reading the paper 1 and if you are reading a paper 4, then you can connect these two.
Right.
So for example, I would like to quote one thing. When I was reading about the Gandhiji and Subhash Chandra Bose in paper 1 from the history section, then I come to know about the Gandhiji ideology, Subhash Chandra Bose ideology. So the next day when I was revising the GS paper 4 ethics, I was able to correlate, okay, I can use this information in my paper 4 also. In the same way that this interconnection was developed. So it is not that you have to see the paper in silos or in the isolation.
In the isolation, right.
You have to connect the paper. Everything is interconnected.
Right.
Economy is interconnected with society. Economy is interconnected with crime. Economy is interconnected with development. Economy is interconnected with employment. So you have to see from all the angle.
Right. You have to keep an open eye and then you have to connect the dots.
Connect the dots.
yourself,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Okay. So nothing is isolated in itself.
Nothing, nothing.
Right. And how to make the most of Learningspace Digital? The content we are offering.
Yes, sir.
How to make the most out of it? I mean, for prelims
Yes,
and for mains. We'll come to interview later.
Yes,
For
sir.
these two, how to make the most of the content that is offered by Learningspace Digital?
So the best thing, sir, from which I got benefit was the editorial lecture being produced by the GVR sir. When I used to listen the lecture, sir used to take some good words, good lines from the editorial. So if you have the ability to catch those words and catch those lines, then just write it down somewhere in your notes book somewhere,
Okay.
and directly use the answer. For example, sir, I would like to convey. Sir was telling the lecture about the investigative journalism. Sir took the one lecture. He took the lecture on this conflict of interest of Chanda Kochar case. So I listened the lecture. I used the good words, good sentences, and directly I used in my mains answer writing. So ultimately, sir, what I want to convey is it is an exam. If you come with the good words, good line, and it is not that you have to use the high vocabs. I'm not talking about the high vocabs, but some standard words.
Right. The relevant words.
Relevant words. So like if you're talking about the bureaucracy, then you can use some type of words like bureaucracy is like good governance. You can use the words like ethical governance.
Okay.
And if you listen the speech of Venkaiah Naidu, he used to use some words like economy, employment, empowerment. in the same way, sir, you have to use such type of words.
Okay.
And our Prime Minister also used that type of words
Mhm.
like 4Ds.
Mhm.
4Ds like democracy, demography.
Mhm.
So such type of jargons, if you
Right.
use somewhere in answer writing, then it give a good impact to the examiner.
Okay. So when it comes to aspirants using YouTube actually for their preparation,
Yes,
how
sir.
to make the most out of it?
So now this is a big question.
It is.
Because YouTube is consuming a lot of time.
Mhm.
There are so many sources in the YouTube. Everyone is trying to highlight that I am the best, I am the best.
Mhm.
What you have to do, you choose which is best for you.
Okay.
Don't go and don't follow anyone blindly.
Mhm.
For example, sir, when I came to know about the Learningspace on the YouTube,
Mhm.
that time Study IQ was there. That time so many channels were there. I'm not taking the name.
Mhm.
But what I found that my weakness was in geography.
Mhm.
So I found this sir is telling the maps in a very beautiful way.
Mhm.
This can help me in my
Mhm.
improving my geography.
Mhm.
So I found that this channel is good for me.
Mhm.
So I just only stick to the Learningspace that time.
Mhm.
And over a period of time, I became a permanent member of this institute.
Okay.
So I would like to say, try to save your time.
Mhm.
That's what sir I said in the starting only. I followed only two sources, Learningspace and Raj Sabha. That's all.
Mhm. Okay. What is the strategy for interview actually? I mean, you have
Interview.
attended interview in 2016 as well.
Yes, sir.
If I'm not wrong, you were not successful during that attempt.
Yes, sir.
And then later you cleared the assistant commandant post, which is conducted by UPSC itself.
Yes, sir.
And then again you were successful in 2018.
Yes,
So
sir.
what changed for you, or how you have changed yourself to be successful now?
Interview, sir, what I felt in 2016 when I gave the interview, that was the first interview and the nervousness was at high peak. So ultimately, sir, it was reflected in my body language.
Okay.
So I still feel that the underconfidence was the main factor,
Okay.
which ultimately played a major role in not in my selection.
Mhm.
So then in 2017, when I gave the assistant commandant,
Mhm.
I got all India rank 92.
Mhm.
That time, sir, I felt one thing.
Mhm.
I was in the learning space that time, sir. As you mentioned, for the last 1 year, I was in the learning space. So I gave the mock interview here.
Mhm.
And the best things are what I found, the feedbacks which I got from this institute.
Mhm.
I feedback in the sense the interview is a matter of attitude.
Mhm.
Information is one part. Because you have
Right.
gone through the prelims, you have gone through the mains, so information is not a big issue.
Exactly.
Now the issue is the attitude, because they are going to select an administrator. You have to deal with thousands and lakhs of population. You should be little bit different.
Mhm.
Hope, optimistic, that should be the attitude. So what I found in 2017 interview, sir, while giving the assistant commandant, I trained myself that I have to be very positive, very optimistic, and bold in my answer.
Okay.
And if there is any question, they ask a situational question. If you have to take a stand, then take the stand and justify it.
Right.
It is not that you have to defend yourself.
Mhm.
Take the decision. Decision taking, you are going to be in such a post, you have to take the decision.
Right.
But
You'll be forced to take a decision
Yes,
anyway.
sir.
Right. Yeah.
You have to justify the decision that these are the reasons I have took this decision.
Okay.
In the same way, in 2018, sir, I have given the mock interview here,
Mhm.
and I would like to thank you, JVR sir, Amrita ma'am, Beenu ma'am, everyone.
Mhm.
The feedback which I got from here,
Mhm.
it helped me.
Okay.
Sir, what in the sense I would like to say, knowledge, they are not going to check the knowledge.
Mhm.
The question they asked me, like if I would be SDM of the Bulandshahr area, which is a very criminal area, what you would do immediately. They asked me about the mob lynching. So these are the question which has no answer as such.
Okay.
These are the question in which your attitude, your personality, your mental thinking, these are the things which they are going to check.
Mhm.
So for the interview, I would like to say, while preparing only, think that you are going to become an IAS and IPS. So
Okay.
that your mental makeup should be structured in such a way.
Okay. Before asking more questions on the mental makeup and how to prepare, how to keep your spirits up during the course of, it's a long and arduous journey.
Yes, sir.
Before that, I'd like to quote some of the toppers who have said what.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Especially about learning space.
Yes, sir.
Vishal Sa, he has mentioned that, specifically mentioned that for prelims, the revision modules helped him a lot.
Exactly.
And the maps and diagrams were very descriptive and clear.
Exactly.
So, as you have stated,
Exactly,
right?
sir.
When it comes to mains, he said that instead of watching the lectures, actually, he has preferred downloading the PDFs. As you know, we provide them.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Okay, so he has started downloading them and then has gone through. That was his strategy.
Okay, sir.
Right? And during
So
the interview,
here I would like to say, sir.
sure.
So for the editorials, sir, I used to see the editorials when I was, because sir's editorial are so simple, sir. If you are not willing to study at all, you can just start the video and you can see the video without wasting any time. What I have seen, sir, in preparation time, people used to waste the time by watching something else. What I did, instead of, when I was feeling low, I was not willing to study, then I used to see the video of sir. That time I used the video I utilize the time in watching the video. Exactly.
Right. Here, different people, different strategies.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, the material was helpful to
Exactly.
you.
No,
Right?
right.
And interview has mentioned that this time sir has provided interview questions as well,
yes,
and then there were 2 mock interviews done for you,
Yes, sir.
and then they have helped.
Yes, sir.
And Akshay Kabra has mentioned the weekly current affairs daily editorial
Yes,
test, and the answer writing practice as well. This
Yes,
time,
sir.
there was some questions given, and then how to write the answer, how to understand the question, everything
sir.
was given to them. And Chitra,
Yes, sir.
she mentions that Learningspace has been a pillar of support for her.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And Saurabh
sir,
Mishra,
sir,
yeah,
one
please,
second,
please
sir.
go on.
Sir, so can you tell me the name of 207 rank?
207, it is Akshay Kabra.
Akshay Kamra.
Yeah.
So he told that he used to do the daily answer writing practice with the sirs provided. Here I would like to mention, if you go through the editorial, then sir always give one question before starting the editorial. If you see the level of the question, that level is quite high from the UPSC level.
Right.
If you try those questions in your answer writing practice, then I can assure that no question can be asked.
Right.
Out
No
of-
question can be more difficult than these questions.
Exactly, sir.
Yeah, it happens actually. Exam is a very, like tense scenario.
Yes,
So
sir.
you will, everyone will perform a bit below your potential.
Exactly.
Isn't it? So it's better to practice with tougher questions than
Tougher
the
question.
actual questions.
Exactly.
Is that what you are saying?
Exactly,
Right? Okay.
sir.
And then Saurabh Mishra says for prelims, he says only relevant news and complete news
Points,
from Learningspace.
Yes, sir.
And like revision modules coupled with MCQs and photographic representations.
Exactly.
It is,
This was the best thing.
yeah, this is a recurring theme actually.
Yes, sir.
For mains, he said editorial discussion. It is quite comprehensive and articles from 3 to 4 newspapers,
Yes, sir.
and it is crystal clear, crisp
Exactly.
discussion, and interview modules and mock videos were also very relevant.
Exactly,
so
sir.
probably you have been helpful for many actually, right? Okay.
The question which GVR sir has framed during the mock interview, they were quite at par, means they were immensely benefited us.
Right. And Kadam Niketan Bansilal mentions that he is extremely grateful to Rao sir, and he started following Learningspace since his first attempt in 2016, and he specially mentions 360-degree explanation of all major issues.
Exactly.
Right, sir. And relevant editorials from across the newspapers. That is another recurring theme actually. When it comes to Sindhu Kavi MR, she is 504 All India rank.
Yes, sir.
She mentions that modules were extremely helpful. GVR's modules and everyone else's modules. And she says it's comprehensive view and in-depth analysis.
Exactly.
So, as you have mentioned,
Yes, sir.
I have to be comprehensive with whatever you have.
Exactly.
Right? She mentioned editorial discussions and how, from interview point of view, they helped her in opinion creation.
Exactly, sir.
Right?
Exactly.
Coming to Dr. Kiranmai Kopisetti, it was her first attempt, and she started following Learningspace platform on YouTube from 2015.
Okay.
Very
Same
similar.
case, same case.
Exactly. Very similar. And she says it has been really, really helpful at all 3 stages of preparation. Actually.
Exactly, sir.
And one thing I haven't touched upon in what they mentioned, everyone has mentioned unanimously, is what Learningspace Digital is doing at such a low cost is akin to social service.
It is a social service. Why I am saying, sir? If you go to Delhi, if you go to any coaching, sir, they are charging hefty amount. And they're charging about lakhs and 2 lakhs. You have to reside there. You have to bear so much of cost. Not only this, the psychological stress, tension, so many things come to the picture. But here, sir, what I found, I was in home for the last 2 years. I just only paid a very small amount, and I was enjoying the lecture. My preparation was going on well. So this type of platform gives a relaxation. It gives you the relaxation and gives you the feasibility at your own pace and time.
Okay.
So this is exactly a social service.
So we are doing our best and we are socially consciable. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let's move on to the next question. They're very valid. What attitude do you recommend towards the examination? Because students, spend a lot of time on it, a lot of hopes on it.
Yes, sir.
So what attitude would you recommend from the student side?
Sir, as I told you, I was in bank. So when I left the job that time, I was always in doubtful whether I would be able to clear the exam or not. But I would like to say, during all this preparation journey, be optimistic, be hopeful, and follow the systematic plan. As I told you, sir, when you follow the plan, then you get edge. Day by day, you get the edge. And when you come at the top 1000, top 2000 student, you automatically will get the selection. What I feel, sir, when I make my timetable and I started my following the timetable in a systematic way, then I was getting the confidence. In 2016, when I went for the interview, I didn't get the selection, but still I got the confidence and hope that I can beat this exam. So 2017, 2018, it took time, but ultimately you have to be positive, you have to be hopeful, because if you have come to this stage and you have sacrificed so many things and the people have expectations from you, then it should act as a motivation. Sir, and for this journey, two of my favorite people like APJ Abdul Kalam and Dhoni, I used to watch their videos. Whenever I feel low, then I used to see them. I again re-energize and again started my preparation.
Okay. Finally, I'll ask you only one question. It is a long drawn process.
Yes, sir.
And many aspirants, in the meantime, during the course of it, they lose focus and motivation. So,
Yes,
how did you keep your motivation up, the motivation levels up throughout the journey?
Sir, I used to say only one line from APJ Abdul Kalam book, Wings of Fire. He always used to say, dream big. If you can't dream big, then you cannot achieve big. If you have dreamed that you can clear the UPSC and you have to clear the UPSC, then stay to it. Follow. No doubt there will be some stages of time when you will feel low, when you will feel that I should give up everything, I should start something new. But it is not the right way, because give up is not the solution. Stay toward it, motivate yourself, see the faces of, whenever sir I feel low, I used to see the faces of my mother and father. I again give a message to myself that I have to do something for my parents. So these are the motivation. Then ultimately, sir, if you are entering into this service for the social service, then ultimately you will have some motivation in yourself that if I get this service, then you will be in a position to serve the society. That was the best motivation you can feel throughout this journey.
Right,
And follow some good books, follow some good leaders, like I followed the APJ Abdul Kalam, even Dhoni. You can follow them and you can continue the journey and ultimately will get the success, what I feel.
Okay. Thank you, Mayank. You have been really helpful with your advice,
Thank
and
you,
then
sir.
you're sharing your experiences.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.